Hello, welcome to episode 2 of Enigmas of the English Alphabet. Continuing the investigation. Let's summarize the previous episode. More than 1 billion people worldwide learn English as a second language. This language has no official spelling rules. In addition to this, there are no books that explain the relationship between spelling and pronunciation of its words. And this is according to the Merriam-Webster pronunciation editor. Well, I continued the investigation because I wanted to understand if there were ever really any rules for the spelling of English. My assumption was the English scribe had to follow some rules. The most perplexing area of English spelling is related to the use of the vowels in writing. Consonants also vary, but not as much as vowels. Some of the most interesting books that I read were The Loom of Language by Frederick Butmer and Mother Tongue by Bill Bryson. Frederick Butmer and other Anglo-Saxon linguists ask why there are only 5 vowels in the Latin alphabet, and they consider this a scarcity. So let's tackle this question. Why only 5 vowels? It is a good question. Now, I started reading in some of these books, but one of the things I did was go to the Merriam-Webster and look for the definition of the letter A. And the definition I found was, it is the first letter of the English alphabet. Now, this is a definition, but it's not a very complete definition, and it's definitely not very useful. It doesn't help me at all to know that it is the first letter of the English alphabet. It doesn't reveal anything interesting about this letter, right? So, since Spanish is my mother tongue, I checked in the Spanish dictionary. The official or the most important dictionary in the Spanish language is the dictionary published by the Royal Spanish Academy. And I checked there the definition of the letter, which in Spanish is called A, which follows the Latin tradition. And it says first letter of the Spanish alphabet, which represents the open central vocalic phoneme. Now, it's similar to the definition in the Merriam-Webster, but it gives a little more explanation. It talks about phonemes, and it talks about being open central. It's not very functional. It doesn't really tell me what it is. I have to do more research, or I have to become a linguist to understand this, right? I have to understand what is a phoneme, what is vocalic, etc. But it points me into that direction. Now, ideally, I shouldn't need to learn linguistic terms in order to understand what this letter is. Now, at that time, the Royal Academy had also published the first dictionary online, which is called the Authorities, Diccionario de Autoridades, Dictionary of Authorities, of 1726. So I was curious and I thought, well, let me see how they define this. And it says, first letter of the alphabet, not just in our own language, but in all others that are known. In Hebrew, in Phoenician, in Greek. It explains how it is called Aleph in Hebrew, Aleph in Arabic, Alios in Phoenician, and Alpha in Greek. It also says that the Latins or Romans just say A simply, and that in the same way is expressed in other languages such as Italian, French, German, Slavic, and others. It says it is the first because it is what nature teaches man when he is born, because it is the sound of the first cry which shows that he is born. It says a lot of other things, but it actually gives the position of the mouth that is used to pronounce it. It says the position that results from the pronunciation of the A is formed as starting from the throat and soften as it leaves the palate and is thrown and it goes through the mouth with just opening it. In other words, it gives you the explanation of how it is pronounced with just opening the mouth. Now, that was very interesting to me because I can see that in 1726, the dictionary was giving a functional definition on what was the position of the mouth related to the sound represented by the letter A, which in English is called A, and it actually gives the mouth position for each of the other vowels. It gives a position of the mouth for E, E, O, and U, which in English is E, I, O, and U. This means in 1726 they were looking at the action that was performed in order to pronounce these sounds and what these letters represented. And this is an old tradition that comes from the time of the Latins and probably before that, because all of the old world languages, including Hebrew, Phoenician, Greek, and then Latin, use these 5 vowels. Now, checking other texts, I could confirm that these are pure vowels, which are points of maximum resonance for the vocalic sounds. In other words, these are the 5 loudest sounds you can utter as a vocalic sound. They are easily distinguishable. So A, E, I, O, and U are very easily distinguishable. They were used in ancient times to make sure the volume of speech was as loud as possible. This was very important for religious ceremonies and for Greek and Roman theater, for example. And today it is important in Italian opera. So this explains where there are 5 vowels in the Italian alphabet. But what are vocalic sounds? Still doesn't explain why there are only 5. Well, vocalic sounds are sounds produced by not interrupting the flow of air and using the vocal cords. Right? So anything that's spoken like this without interrupting the vocal cord, without interrupting the flow of air, is a vocalic sound. But these sounds are modified by the position of the mouth. In other words, you have the vocal cords being used, that doesn't change, but the sound changes as you modify the position of the mouth. So how many vowels are there? Well, vocalic sounds can happen in any position of the mouth as long as you don't interrupt the airflow. This is similar to looking at a rainbow. When you look at a rainbow, you can distinguish easily 7 colors. But in reality, there are a lot more colors. There are transition colors, right? There are points where the blue start transforming into magenta, and then that transforms into red, or that transforms into yellow, etc. There are points in between, but 7 colors are easy to distinguish. So the 5 vowels, the 5 pure vowels, are similar to the 7 colors of the rainbow, which are easily distinguishable, and they are very strong. So I continued the research, and I found that most of the words of English either come from Old English or come from Latin. The great majority of them, almost 85%, come from Latin. And most of the rest come from Old English. In Old English also follow the rules of Old Latin. Old English followed the rules of Latin. It was a regular language. It used the rules of the Latin alphabet. Not only that, but Old English created new letters to represent their sounds, which were not included in the Latin alphabet. Now, reviewing the history of the English alphabet, I understood how it evolved from a regular language, in other words, a language that was able to express consistently the sound of its words using the alphabet, and became an irregular language that lost its special symbols and is not able today to represent in a consistent way the sounds of its words. That's why I wrote Enigmas of the English Alphabet in 2006 that was finalist in the education category in Forward magazine. It explores There's usually known facts about English, spelling and pronunciation, which can help better understand and improve English pronunciation, especially for foreign language speakers. I invite you to listen to the coming episodes, which will explore the history of the alphabet first, and then the history of English, and see how this evolution affects us every day when we speak this beautiful and powerful language.